Six Sages Gaming is brought to you by GamersGauntlet.net. Check them out for all your singles, sealed product, and playmats.
Hey guys, welcome to another Six Sages Gaming set review for Opus 1. We're going to be talking about ice. Now, I gotta say, this is absolutely my favorite element out of Opus 1, and you'll see exactly why. I'll definitely make sure to point out those cards. Some cards are good, some cards are just and some cards are straight bad. But let me tell you, the cards that are good are just so good in this. It's insane. I will be playing ice in absolutely every deck I play going forward. I just couldn't see playing anything else. So that's why I made this video. I want to tell you guys what I think are the good cards, what are the bad cards, and really want to start getting everyone on making some awesome deck lists. So let's get right into it. Up first, we have Chemist and, well, Chemist. Yep, that's right. Is any card that has that icon in the top right corner that you see that has that 3 symbol, it means you can have 3 of them on the field. Now you'll see that they're a backup, so both of them can be in your backup at the same time. First Chemist, when she enters the field, choose a forward, dull it. Meh, not really that great. Now Ice does do a lot of things that make you want to make sure that their forwards are tapped, you can hit for damage. But ultimately, there's so many other good backups that you're going to see later on. I really can't see using either one of these. 2-drop Chemist, when it enters the field, choose a forward. It cannot be broken this turn. Alright, real quick, just so you know, this card is an absolute must if you want to be playing the Tidus combo deck. We'll put a deck spotlight up on that down the road. Other than that, no, not seeing this card. So both of these, fringe playable, have some kind of cool utility, but especially if you're playing 2 different elements, there's just such better cards to be using. Up next, and I'm sure, again, I'm going to be butchering a ton of these names, so I do apologize, but we have 2-drop Argath. Enters the field, your opponent discards 1 card from his or her hand. 2-drop 3K, not impressive at all for that power. It should have been a 4 at minimum. And then discarding a card from your opponent's hand, it's just not that good. You're drawing 2 cards a turn. It's just, this card doesn't get me excited. Not a lot going for it, unfortunately. You know, I did test it because I really wanted to have a discard-heavy deck. And unless they're removing something at the same time, just discarding 1 card from your opponent's hand isn't doing enough, and especially not at that power range. And then we have a 3-drop Orin with a special ability. So again, whenever they have that S, it means you must discard another card of that name. So Celestial Stasis, discard another Orin, 3 ice, and tap, dull all forwards opponent controls. Alright, now this is a card that I keep going back and forth if it's going to be in my deck or not. It's a very, very strong effect. Don't get me wrong, and you'll see some cards later that why it, you know, Ice really, again, wants to have your opponent's field tapped, and you want to be able to hit them for damage. And this card can buy you an entire turn because there's only 1 combat phase. Yes, you attack with 1 at a time, but once you pass that combat phase, you can't do anything. So this is a card I'm absolutely torn on. If we get like a Final Fantasy Tactics down the road, or maybe you're playing Ice and Water and you have some extra draw power, then I'd feel a little bit better about it. But Ice in itself, I can't say that this is going to be going in every single Ice deck, based on the colors that you might be playing, but I definitely see this card as being playable because of some of the other cards I'll be talking in a minute. So keep this card in mind. We'll be definitely talking about it a little bit more here in a bit. Bard and Bard, again, one's a forward, one's a backup. They both have this 3 icon up here in the corner, so you can't have both of them on the field at the same time. 2-drop 4K, okay, this is kind of where I need to say 2-drop 4K, that's kind of where you need to be. That is kind of the core stats if you're a 2-drop. Pay 2 ice, tap, choose a forward, and dull it. Not great. It's just not. It's great for like a stalling strategy, but you're gonna see there's so many other cards that we can be playing. I just really can't get behind this one. So is the backup any better? 2-drop, great to have a 2-drop backup so you're not discarding multiple cards. 1 ice, tap, put them in the break zone. Your opponent discards 1 card, and we're out. You have to pay a card. You know, you're probably discarding a card to play this. Then you have to pay an ice. Then you have to tap him. Then you have to put him in the discard. And your opponent's only discarding 1 card? No. Both bards are just terrible. And as a side note, it's one of my favorite classes. And of course, they made him terrible. Just like they make the bard terrible in almost every single Final Fantasy game. Up next, Kuja. Absolutely a home run with this guy. 5-drop 9K. Boom. Awesome stats. 9K is super relevant. What does he do? When Kuja is chosen by a summon, your opponent must discard a card from his or her hand. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. Not only does his power make him tough for your opponent to remove him from the field, you have to they have to discard a card to remove him with like an Odin or something. Now, again, if they pay the cost of the spell, they don't have any more cards in hand, sure, they don't have to discard a card. But more often than not, your opponent's either A, taking damage, or B, they're playing super awkwardly around this card. And it's just a win-win for you no matter what. So again, even on defense, he's great because he's a 9K. Again, once you guys start playing the game, you'll start checking it out. You'll see how relevant that extra 1,000 power can be, which is why I will always recommend, if you are playing a mono-colored deck or a mono-element deck, as terrible as they are, play the plus 1,000 power backups just so your fires can be an 8K into a 9K or a 9K into a 10K. You guys definitely need that little extra boost if you are limited on your card pool. And then we have our summon. 3-drop Shiva, it's an EX, so if you take the damage, you flip over the top card, it's a Shiva, you get that effect. So what is it? Choose 1/4 to dull it, so tap, for those that aren't familiar, and freeze it. It does not recover. This card is just good in every single ice deck that's going to be played. Again, if you're playing ice, you want to dull your guys. Again, we'll get into that with a few other cards. Freezing it so it doesn't recover, so this one card can save you 2 combat steps for one attacker. So they go to combat, start a combat, I want to declare an attacker. No, I'm going to play Shiva. I stopped it for that turn because I'm going to dull and freeze it. And then I'm going to stop it for your next turn because it won't recover. So it does a lot of heavy lifting in this deck. And then again, the fact that it's an EX is just absolute icing on the cake. If you're playing an ice deck, you are 1,000% playing 3 of this card unless your ice is a splash in like a Shantado Earth Water ice deck, and this is like the only ice card for whatever reason. Then sure, maybe 2 or something if it's a splash because it's an EX. But absolutely, this card is just so good. I see a lot of this one being played. Up next, we have the other Shiva, which is a 1-drop. Again, it's an EX, so that helps a lot. Choose 1 dulled for it. Now, it's extremely relevant. Deal it 5,000 damage. So if you watched our fire video, Ifrit is a 1-drop EX summon. That's all the same. It can deal damage to any forward, so that's different. But Shiva deals an extra 1,000. Now, this is something that they changed, and I do see that it's going to be relevant. And keeping in mind, your opponent goes to attack, they most likely have to dull their forward. You can just, before you have to even block, you can respond, try to deal 5,000 damage to it. Maybe they save it, then you can block with the guy, what have you. But what you'll find out is there's so many good cards. Light Cloud, Guy out of Earth, Prishy can gain Brave out of Earth as well. There's a lot of ways to give Brave, so unless you're playing other cards which dull, which again, if you're playing heavy ice, a lot of effects do dull, don't get me wrong. Sometimes this card was just stuck in my hand and I couldn't do anything with it. Now that said, I'm probably still going to be playing 3 of them absolutely every time because again, it's an EX and it deals 5,000 damage, which is very relevant. But just be prepared that there's going to be some matchups where their entire game plan is to have guys that don't dull to attack, and that essentially makes this card worthless. Now, again, keep in mind that you can discard any card from your hand to produce 2 crystal points of that element. So even if somehow they have this Courage Wall blocked up, or Brave Wall, it was Courage in the Japanese version, and Brave Wall blocked up, you can just discard it, move on with your life, get 2 crystal points. It's great. Speaking of cards that you'll never play and always discard, don't put them in the deck. Summoner. Every element has one of these. Don't play them. They're bad. There's so many other better backups you can be doing. It's just a hard pass. But again, Shiva, absolutely. Up next, we have just the... I'm only going to say Light Cloud is the best legend in the first set because, 1, it's Cloud. Everybody loves Cloud. 2, there's 9 Cloud cards, where this one there's only 6 Squalls, if I'm not mistaken. So there's not as many utility, and obviously Light Cloud has Brave as well. But if I had to pick, and it's close between this and Lightning, if I had to pick what is the second best legend in the set, it's probably Squall. Now this card, it's just insane. It can put the hard brakes on a really aggressive, like low to the ground deck, because whenever he blocks, or is blocked, which is extremely relevant as well, you deal 6,000 damage or something. So if you're attacking, they can't block with, say, an 8K or a 9K because it's going to die as well. So as a 3-drop 6K, it should be 7, but you know what? That's good enough. And then his special effects, so just pay 1 and pay an ice, he gains first strike. So you can always threaten the ability to deal 12,000 damage to something and not have to worry about him dying. Again, this is one of those cards. I am absolutely playing ice. Squall and I wish they would have swapped the artworks on these cards because I really hate that artwork for Squall on the left. But it is what it is. This card is like, man, I have to play this. I have to play like an ice mid-range or ice control deck because Squall will just buy you turns. And if you watch our video, it was the unblockable deck versus Titus combo, if I'm not mistaken. Cody played a Squall, and guess what? I couldn't do anything for 3 turns because I would have 2-for-1 myself by trying to attack. And it's exactly for that reason why 3-drop Squall is so amazing. So on the right, we have the 4-drop version. If you control Laguna, he gains plus 3,000 power. So a 4-drop 9k, not bad. When Squall enters the field, each player discards 1 card from his or her hand. If you control Laguna, your opponent discards 1 more card from his or her hand. Now this is the part where I kind of back up and I'm like, oh, I'm not that excited. So if you set up your hand where it's the last card that you play and you have Laguna in the field, it's great. Absolutely great. Outside of that, it's a little bit harder to set up and you never want to discard cards. But if you can get your opponent to discard 2 cards because you have Laguna in the field, absolutely. And you'll see that Laguna and Squall play very well together. So if you want to have a themed deck around those two, absolutely play the Squall. Outside of that, though, really, you're generally only playing 3 Lagunas, or at least in the list that I'm working with, because the other Laguna is maybe play another one, so you're playing 4, so you're probably going to have a Laguna in the field. I would just want to run 6 of each of these sets just to guarantee you're getting the most out of each card. So, again, if you're playing a more themed deck, absolutely play the 4-drop Squall. Otherwise, I would say in more traditional ice decks, the way that they're going to go, probably not going to see them. Another card that I love to hate, and it's just, I think it's going to be a little bit better with a larger card pool. The 1-drop Snow, he's a 3k. Again, not that exciting. It's not that great where you need to be. But when Snow attacks, choose 1 forward opponent controls and dull it. And then if you've casted Shiva, you can freeze it also. Now this is great if we mix like an Ice and Lightning. Now again, mind you, that is one of the starter decks, and I mean the Lightning 4-drop, she enters the battlefield, dulls a guy, and she has haste. So there's a very strong tempo type of deck here because Snow can remove one of the blockers. But that's about the only deck that it's good in, and I'm not so sure that there's enough cards to make that kind of deck ready yet. I think once we get 1 more set, it'll probably be there, and if not 2 sets. We just need a couple more cards because I was trying to work out some lists, and it wasn't there. It felt like there's a few things missing to really get the potential out of this card. Now, again, we have 6 Shiva, so that's great, but we really need something else to get that little bit of extra punch out of it. But I think that there's definitely the starting of a very awesome tempo deck with this card. But right now, I can't really see it. As much as I'd love to, because I love playing tempo cards, or tempo decks. Then we have Sephiroth, 5-drop, First Strike. First Strike is always great. First Strike is another very strong effect in here. When he enters the field, each player discards 2 cards. Again, I really hate that they added these effects. So he's higher costed. He's only a 7k in a color that doesn't really have an easy way to buff up your guys. So you would be forced to be playing. If you're playing the backup that gives him plus 1,000 power to make him an 8k, that's a very sweet spot to be in. But 7, it's a little short. So you have to play that ice backup. And if you're playing a monocolored, it's probably fine. But if you're playing 2 elements, it starts to feel really, really awkward. Unless you're playing Golem to give him plus 2,000 as a summon, or you're playing some other way to give him just that little bit of extra damage he needs for First Strike to be as good as it is, this card really, it's just not good. It needs more things to go with it. Now, again, it is a 5-drop, so you're probably spending your entire hand to play him, but there are going to be turns where you just don't play him because you don't want to lose 2 cards. So this is another card I really want to like it. And the other Sephiroth that we have in the set is a darkness card, so it doesn't even have a special effect. So drawing multiple of these is not even that great, and especially late game when you're both in top deck, it's just, for having to pay 5 to play him is just not a good spot to be in. So I could see something with this card, and especially in a mono ice deck, but for what it is, I think it needs a little bit more meat to it to really get the most out of it. Moving on, we have Sarah. If you control snow, it cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. So again, this goes back into the tempo deck because you can play this 1-drop snow, then they can't Ifrit it away, they can't Shiva Ram, they can't play any of the lightning bolts, quote unquote, to take a turn from magic, to bolt it away. So if I'm playing the tempo deck, absolutely play this card. Otherwise, wouldn't touch it. There's so many other good ice backups that you want to be using. Terra. Now, Terra is a wonderful card. 3-drop 6k, so right about where the stats want to be. 6 or 7, that's fine. The cost required for your opponent to cast summons is increased by 1. Okay, that's a pretty good spot to be in. Many people will find out even having to pay that 1 extra is extremely relevant and can make a very hard time for your opponent. She cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons. Oh, so you can't Odin her, or you can't either Odin, actually. You can't bolt her away, so there's no tricks that they can really be using in terms of summons. And then Trance for discarding 1 card named Terra and 2 Ice. Until the end of turn, Terra gains plus 3,000 power and first strike. Woo! So you can always threaten on either defense or offense that she's going to be going up to a 9k, which again is the absolute best spot to be in, and gain first strike. I am absolutely in love with this card for Ice. I'm not even sure which version of her I want to be using, but the other great thing is both of them can be brought back by Devout, which is another card that you'll see here in a little bit. So this is just a great card to play against early aggressive decks. It can really start hurting their summon plan, and it just has a lot of utility to it as well as defense and attacking, with really making your opponent think, can I attack here? Is this safe? Was he just going to block? So there's a lot of things that you can do with it. Now again, they both have special, that's what the S means, so they can both be discarded to one another. And here's a 4-drop Terra. When she enters the field, choose up to 2 dulled forwards your opponent controls, deal them 4,000 damage. So as I was talking about earlier, Ice really plays into this heavy theme of having things that are going to be tapped. And having that ability to deal 4,000 damage is going to be just a very, very strong effect. And then choose 1 dull for it, deal 1,000 damage. So you can play her. So she does cost 4. She does cost a little bit, don't get me wrong. And then you can pay 1 ice multiple times to deal damage in 1,000 increments. Now, what's really great is Magic Charge. If Terra deals damage to a 4, double the damage until end of turn. Again, just absolutely great the way you can stack these effects. And Terra is really going to be punching through for some damage. Again, I like both of these. I think I'm probably going to be playing the 3-drop Terra instead, but I 100% believe that both of these could very well be played. It's just kind of deciding which way you want to take them. Sorry about the squeak there in the background. So, one of my favorite backups is Devout. Tap and banish him, choose 1 forward, cost 4 or less from your break zone, put it onto the field. You can only use this ability during your turn. Now, it's great because you can only use it during your turn, so it's a balancing thing. I would never play 3 of them because it's really awkward when you draw them early, but you can get 2. And this brings back your Squall. It brings back your Terras that you can then discard your Terras in hand to for their effect. And this is just overall a very, very strong card. Now again, 4 costs or less also brings back our 8Ks, in some cases 9Ks. And it's just a great way to be able to recycle your guys that you might not otherwise want to use. So you can play this early, kind of keep it on the field a little bit. Again, I like only running 2. 3 felt a little bit weird with some of the other things I want to be running. And then you can attack with, like, let's say your Squall. They block with their big guy. Sure, you lose it. You trade. Then you crack the Devout, bring Squall back, and really, puts the brakes on their aggressive plans. So absolutely, I think Devout is something that we can expect to see a lot of play out of going forward. If you're playing an Ice deck, Ice solo, Ice with another attribute, what have you, I have to recommend playing 1 or 2 of these just because of how good it is. Speaking of, because I'm going to be playing a more control-based deck, Time Mage is just an absolute winner for me. 1 Ice, and so he costs 2, so again, that's very important. Only have to discard 1 card to play him, or very cheap to get in otherwise. Pay an Ice and tap him, choose a forward. It cannot attack this turn. So this is just a great card. If your opponent goes all in, they play like a 4, 5, or 6 drop, they have to spend their turn playing it. You can just go, okay, Time Mage, that can't attack. And it just buys you a turn. So it's a great to help stall the game out if you need to resolve some of your bigger guys, or you need to make sure that you're getting the most out of a summon that you want to play in the next turn. Time Mage can help you slow the game down 1 creature at a time. And it has the 3 icon again in the top right corner, meaning you can have multiple time mages on the field at a time. So potentially in a game, you could have 3 time mages and have all of them being used to freeze your opponent. Now again, it's a little bit awkward. You technically have to discard a card to pay the third one, but it's still a very strong effect. So I would recommend having 2 in play, but you want to play 3 just so you can guarantee have 2 of those in play as early as possible. So Time Mage, absolutely amazing card. I have to imagine it will be seeing a lot of play. Knight is a 3-drop 7k standard unit. Not really exciting. Nothing really to talk about here. It does play in with another card called Warrior of Light that's out of water. We'll be talking about that in another video, but ultimately nothing that exciting for just the card itself. Then we have Nuge, 3-drop 7k. Pretty good stats on him. Enters a field, your opponent discards a card. He leaves the field, your opponent draws a card. So it's that temporary, incremental card advantage. It's not the best thing because, they do get the card back, but it is a 3-drop 7. So it's one of those things. I wish it was an 8k. Yes, that would have made him probably a little bit too good, but if you really want to, you might find room for him in your deck. Overall, I'm not really that impressed with him. 5-drop Hades Summon, choose a forward and a backup. You dull the forward and bounce the backup to their hand, and they discard a card. This card is great late game. Sometimes good in the mid game and never good in the early game. I definitely think it's a tech 1 or 2 of in an ice deck, but I cannot recommend 3 ever. It's just not a good spot to be because you never want to see this early. It's not good unless you're both in like that top deck late game mode. So, being able to dull forward and be able to maybe swing through that last damage has some utility to it. But again, you're playing Shiva already, and you're playing a bunch of other stuff that can dull. So it's not the most important thing. So again, 1 to 2 of probably okay, but definitely nothing super exciting. Oops, looks like I doubled up on a card there. So we have Summoner. This is actually a card I love because it's the only way to cancel an effect like Hades. Pay an ice and put him into the break zone. Now, again, I want to kind of call that out. Pay 1 ice, put Summoner in the break zone. There's no dull effect or anything there, so Summoner can tap and pay for himself for his own effect, or you can, for whatever reason you want to, if you want to leave up like a different effect, possibly like a Time Mage. You can tap your Summoner, so you could still tap Time Mage later on, and then you could tap the Time Mage to pay for Summoner's cost in case they play a Summon instead. So it gives you the ability to have free range on how you spend your backups, which, again, if you only have 5 backups in play, it can kind of limit what you're doing. So it's great that he doesn't have to rest or dull to get his effect. And here we have 2 Dark Knights. The first Dark Knight's a 4-drop 7k. Deal 1,000 damage to all forwards your opponent controls for 2 ice. It might have some utility, but ultimately it's just not that exciting. 3-drop 8k. All right, that's pretty nice. When Dark Knight is put in the field into the break zone, it deals 1 point of damage to you. Not loving it. Because you can only take 7 damage, it's nice that it's an 8k, but I would rather just pay the extra crystal point and get a better 8k that has some kind of effect to them that's not hurting us. So flavor-wise, it's great. Otherwise, not really feeling it. Joseph, 4-drop, aka Brave. All right, he has Brave. I'll take it. Put Joseph into the break zone. Choose 1 blocking forward. It cannot be broken this turn. I like the fact that it's a 4-drop 8k with Brave. Not loving his effect. The cool part about this is if you're playing Squall, your Squall can then potentially favorably block a 9k that Joseph wouldn't have been able to block. So there's like that very niche interaction where that would help out. And there might be one other one I'm missing. Let me know in the comments if I'm kind of thinking of missing one other, like when this card blocks, it gains some effect. But within ice, and I want to keep this focused on only ice, that's really the only effect that you're getting out of it. And then, again, the card that you want to be playing if you're playing like an all-ice deck, Duke Larg. Ice forwards you control gain 1,000 power. And this is where Joseph would be great. He becomes a 9k Brave attacker who then can block very favorably when your opponent's playing a lot of 8ks. Moving on, we have Laguna, both the Legend and the EX. Now, this Legend, I haven't played with it yet, and again, it's really important to note that it requires your opponent to have a dulled field so he can really get forward through the damage, but he deals 7,000 damage when he hits your opponent to a forward. That's a very good number to be hitting. And then for Desperado, so discard a copy of him and 2 ice, choose one dull forward. So again, has to be tapped and deal it 9,000 damage. Again, 9,000 damage is going to be killing anything in this game. As printed, I guess I should say. So printed wise, it's a very, very good spot to be. I really like this card. I'm planning on playing like a control deck that can really take value out of this guy and really start like paying off my opponent's board. I think it's a very, very good card to be playing with, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Then we have a 4-drop Laguna EX, so 4-drop 7,000. Right under where it needs to be. When he enters the field, or again, he has an EX burst, so whenever you reveal them off the top of your deck from receiving damage, choose one forward your opponent controls, dull it. If you have Squall in play, freeze it also. And what's great, if he's in play and you control Squall, he becomes a 9k, so that's where it really shines. And again, this goes back to what I said about the Squall earlier, is you could very easily play a deck with 6 Squalls, 6 Lagunas, and they're going to marry very well together. And yes, they're from the same game. I get it. They go together like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see if people focus on that Final Fantasy VIII theme, because they do interact very favorably with one another. And again, Laguna becoming a 9k, or if you're playing a mono ice, you can make him a 10k with Duke. That's a very strong place to be in. And then we have Leon. And again, some of these are just not changing. Sorry about that. Leon 3-drop 9k. Very, very good stats. When he enters the field, your opponent may play one character card from his or her hand onto the field. No, absolutely not. Do not fall into that trap, because that can backfire very, very hard for you if they have like a 6, 7, or 8 drop. So this is a card that if you're expecting a lot of like low to the ground red decks, probably can get away with playing it. But if you're playing against a meta that has like a bunch of 6 and 7 or 5 and 6 drops, I would not touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. Just would not go there, because it's them being able to put like a 5 or 6 drop into play for free, regardless if this guy is a 9k or not, is just insane card advantage for what their effects might be doing. Now, the flip side of that is if you're both in top deck mode and they don't have a card to put in, this card becomes insane. Now, again, if you're getting the disclaimer then, if we're assuming that this card is good late game, where we could be playing 5 and 6 drops and not have to worry about what my opponent is playing, well, why wouldn't you just be playing those other cards? So I think there might be some really unique situation where this card is going to be good, but ultimately I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's going to be pretty out left field for Leon to be seeing play. And then we have Sid Reigns. Now, this is a card I'm glad that they buffed up. So he's a 2-drop 5k, so kudos. If you're playing the backup, he becomes a 6k. So a 6k, potentially 6k 2-drop is very, very strong. When he enters the field, choose one dull forward. So again, you see that Ice really cares about their guys being tapped. Deal it 4,000 damage. All right, pretty great. If they attack with like a Tifa, on your next turn you can play Sid, kill their Tifa. That's not that bad. When it's put into the field from Break Zone this turn, then they have to discard a card. Alright, I can get behind this. If I'm not playing like one of the other Terras or something, I'm absolutely going to be playing Sid Reigns with some Shiva action to deal 8k if I have to total. There's just a lot of really good things that you can be doing with this card, so I definitely think that Sid is going to be playable. And especially if you're doing something like Laguna. So again, Laguna deals 7,000 damage or something, so you tap down their guys, Laguna hits them, they deal 7,000, maybe it didn't finish them off, you bring in Sid, deal another 4 to bring it up to 11,000 damage, and your opponent has to discard a card. A little bit living the dream, a little bit just actually really good. Now, Jill, this is a card that I have, and it's from the starter decks, which just blows me away. So I didn't look at any of the starter cards because I was waiting for translations to come through. Wow, so it's a 2-drop backup. That's already a really good spot to be in for if you watch our other video. Just only having to discard one card to put a backup into play, pretty good. When she enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards and freeze them. Okay, so she's going to stop your opponent from being able to attack the next turn. That's pretty awesome. Sadistic Surge, choose a forward, dull it, and freeze it. All right, sold. Absolutely sold. Like, this card hits a home run on literally every single front possible, and I don't know how it's in the starter deck. So I was trying to keep this one kind of under wraps, and I'm sorry, Rob. But if you're playing Ice, and you can tutor for this card because it's Final Fantasy 13, it is absolutely insane for Ice. Like, this is definitely one of the better backups in the game in set 1. So again, I can't stress how amazing this is, and I'm really looking forward to getting to play with this card. It's just, it hits a home run on every single possible point that it can to make it just an all-around amazing card. So again, Jill, 100% you are going to be seeing play in every ice deck going forward. Moving on, we have Snow. Now, this is a 3-drop version, and so if the 1-drop Snow is more of a tempo, this 3-drop Snow is definitely more of the control variant, because whenever you have blocks, you choose a forward and dull it. So, yes, they're probably going to be attacking with their stronger forwards first, but if they want to try to attack with a weaker one, and let's just say you get, you fall into one of their traps and they ifrit away your guy, you're at least able to trade with that guy and tap their other guy so it couldn't attack this turn. And then what's also great is Vendetta. Until on a turn, he gains plus 2,000 power and first strike when locking. So he becomes a 9k first strike blocker. Again, overall, 3-drop 7, it's okay. It's fine to be where it's at. It's a good defensive card. It could maybe see some fringe play in like a tempo field as well. I think the 1-drop is just better. But it definitely has something going for it, and I think it's worth at least exploring in deck list and see where it's going to take you. And then we have Sarah. When Sarah enters the field, your opponent discards 1 card from his or her hand. It's a 3-drop 6k. It's, again, with your opponent drawing 2 cards a turn, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and it could be better. So I'm just not impressed at all with these cards. I wanted the discard effects to be stronger, and they're just not. One of my favorite cards, one of the last cards from the starter, is the Moogle. When Mog enters the field, search for a Final Fantasy 13 card, add it to your hand. Tutors are just absolutely amazing. I think this will 100% see play. And because we saw his ice version, I want to include the dark version here as well for Sephiroth. First strike. Now, he's an 8-drop. That is, if I'm not mistaken, this is the most expensive card in Opus 1. When he enters the field, choose 1 backup and break it. Now, they decided to nerf a lot of the backup break effects in set 1. So the fact that he has first strike and 8k, it's just so good with those 2 stats. And then he has the ability to break up, destroy your opponent's best backup. I keep calling it break up. So you break up their backup. There you go. If they have like a red mage or something, like, you just need to have answers to those cards. And Sephiroth is a card that can go in any deck because he's darkness. And again, he is expensive, so you're only going to be playing him in the decks that want to go super, super late game. So you're not playing him in the red decks. You're not playing him in some of the win decks. There's not a lot of decks that are going to be playing him. But if you're definitely playing one of those mid-range or control-based decks, absolutely play one of these in your deck. Just trust me, it is absolutely a one of in any deck that wants to go long. And I'm actually going to be starting off with playing 2 in my deck just because I want to be playing a late game plan, and he's just that good. So that's all I have for the ice preview, guys. I hope you like this video. Let us know in the comments below what type of ice decks that you're looking forward to. Maybe it's ice and wind, maybe it's ice and lightning. Let us know. We'll try to get a deck put together for it and feature it in an upcoming deck spotlight so we can get some more content out for you guys. So thank you very much for watching another 6 Sages Gaming set review, and we'll catch you on the next video. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and leave us a comment with what you thought of the video. Don't forget to subscribe to 6 Sage Gaming and check out some of the deck spotlights, duel series, and Force of Community videos that are already on the channel. We also have a Facebook and a Twitter, so feel free to find us there. Lastly, if you have a deck that you would like featured in a video, be sure to drop us a comment below. Until next time, take it easy.